Salutations! Welcome to Loving the Language of Literacy. My name is Sophia Lee, and today I'm doing my top 14 books of 2014. Oh my god, 2014 has been such a year. I go a lot more in depth, and I mean a lot more in depth, in my 2014 reading, writing, living, blogging, and booktubing resolutions. Even though their events are very tough and effective, they really helped me grow and become a better person. And a compilation of my favorite moments / memories of 2014, 90% of them have to do with books. And I just want to say thank you so much to the booktube community, the blogosphere, Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, anyone who's even followed me, commented, became my friend on any of the social media platforms. Thank you so much for making 2014 such a great year, and I could not have done it without you. I don't mean this in a
an accomplishment, yay
kind of way, but my life would have been a lot different this year without you. So thank you so much. So these are in a particular order, from least favorite of all the favorites to the most, and I read 153 books this year. 2013, without blogging, I read 65 books. I've read so many astounding novels that have affected me and changed my perception on things, made me grow and change, and thank you so much to authors and books. Top 14 books of 2014 kind of videos have been up on the booktube since the middle of December. But I didn't want to do that because I had this kind of irrational anxiety that my very last book of 2014 would make it onto the 2014 list. I would have read, and I would have only made the video and uploaded it, and then that book would have come into my life, and I'd feel so bad because I couldn't include it, so I waited until New Year's Eve. Fun fact, number 10 on this list actually was the second to last book I finished this year. Without further ado, let us begin this lovely list. The 14th book of this year was The Beginning of Everything by Robin Schneider. It got a lot of hype actually in 2013. At my old school, no one read. But for some reason, everybody read this. So I kind of had this judgment and thought everyone else was reading. It might be just some not very good quality, kind of fast-paced little quickie that everyone else liked. But it actually was an astounding book. Two of my friends who are completely non-bookish were like,
"You haven't read that yet? And you're Sophia?"
And I was like, okay, excuse me, I better start reading it. This is protagonist who's the star of the tennis team, and his leg is shattered. And this changes his life forever because he's brought down in the social rankings. And his life is really put into perspective, like, what am I gonna do after high school? Because it's a senior year. And it's that kind of, you might peak too soon if you're popular, thinking he just wants to change his life around. This happens when he meets Cassie, who comes to his school. She is completely different from everyone else there. She does not go status quo, and she exposes him to all these new experiences that he wouldn't have had otherwise. I'm not gonna spoil it, but by the end of the book, he is a completely different person, and it is so wonderful to see his character development. I actually recommended this to someone at my new school, but they thought that the main character,
whose name I obviously don't remember,
was kind of a douche, and I actually really related to him and connected to him as a character.
so I'm not quite sure what that says about me.
The 13th book is The Truth About Alice by Jennifer Matthew. This was a book that I was actually anticipating since March, and it was so good. It's basically a little twist on Go Ask Alice. What's so refreshing about this book is that we hear from 4 different people's perspectives that all have different relationships with Alice. One has had a crush on her forever, one's a popular girl, one's her ex-best friend. We see all these perspectives, and no one really knows what happened on this night because everyone thinks that she slept with these 2 guys one after another at a party, and her reputation is completely ruined, and she gets slut-shamed to no end. But we don't actually get to hear from her until the very end of the book. And this is only 200 pages long. This is such a rich story with so much character development, and I absolutely adored it. The 12th book was Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. I'm not sure how you could have read The Infernal Devices ever and not included this in one of your best of whatever year it is, because oh my god, it's so good. I had been bugged and bugged and bugged for ages to read a Cassandra Clare book. My friend Emma, who you see quite a lot in videos, started reading it when City of Ashes came out, and I never got into it. I was like, okay, Shadowhunters, what's that all about? Of course, since coming to BookTube, my opinions on the series are totally different. I read the entire Infernal Devices trilogy, and I'm planning on, in 2015, to tackle the Mortal Instruments, and the first book was good. The second book was better. The third book was just mind-blowing. I'm sounding like a broken record for anyone who's a fan of Christina Clare, but her writing is so beautiful. The way she writes relationships is so glorious, and then the romance and the character development is superb. And if you haven't read a Cassandra Clare book, if you were like me in 2014 and had not read one yet, read this book. You don't have to start with the Moral Instruments. Read the Immoral Devices, and oh my god, you need to do this. The 11th book of this year was Peaceful Genocide by J.A. Reynolds, aka the best self-published book I've ever read. They generally aren't the best quality of writing just because they're self-published and they don't have the means with the editors and publishers and to make this the best book it can be. But Peaceful Genocide was so good. And before you're thinking this title is terrible and how can genocide be peaceful, I didn't understand it either, but it was a mind-blowing book. Peaceful Genocide by J.A. Reynolds is about a dystopian page-turner including two very strong protagonists that have had their share of troubles before being forced to participate in strenuous tasks designed to stretch their eidetic memories to the limit. The characters are so kick-ass, it was so well written and so fast-paced, and I'm still waiting for news on the sequel. Like, J.A. Reynolds, call me or email me, because that would be kind of creepy if you called me, because I haven't given you my number. The 10th book of 2014 is Smell Like Ashes by Sarah Rush. Can I just say, mind-blowing, fast-paced awesomeness with a kick-ass female character and an even better one. Do you see this thing on the front? It's weird, right? Something you've never seen before. It's a shock ribbon. They're like the best fantastical weapon I've ever had an author describe to me. They're completely different from any other weapon I've ever seen. And they're so awesome. If you haven't heard of this, this is a 2014 debut novel. And it's about this girl named Mira, and she's part of the Winter Kingdom. She and the 7 remaining Winter citizens are trying to get their kingdom back and make alliances, political intrigue, and there's, oh my god, Mira. There's such good character development. It's so fast-paced. Snow Like Ashes is basically legend in fantasy form. So if that doesn't make you want to pick it up, I don't know what will. The 9th book of this year is Breaking Free by Winter Page. That has gotten no hype whatsoever, but it freaking should. This is a contemporary romance novel about a transgender girl who is also a lesbian. And that provides so much controversy and such a good platform for the author. It was beautiful, it was lyrical, it had an astonishing cast of characters, and they went through so much crap because of who they were and their sexual orientation and just who they wanted to be. And it's like, stop judging them. And I felt so much of these characters. I really got into the LGBTQ genre this year, and I hope to read more in 2015. And if you are looking for a good transgender YA fiction novel, pick this up. The 8th book is Audacious by Gabrielle Prendergast, but it is written in verse. It is very controversial because the main character takes a nude photo of herself and posts it in her school's art gallery. There's so much chaos that ensues because of it. She has a boyfriend who is Muslim, and of course that shocks his parents and everyone else in the community. She goes through so much crap, and what she did obviously was not the best thing she could have done. Not the wisest either, but I felt so close to her as a character because she had the courage and the passion to just damn the consequences and make a statement, and that's what art is supposed to do. It was very inspirational, and I read it in one sitting. If you follow me on Twitter, you will have most definitely heard me mention Fangirl and just ramble on and on about the Ascendance trilogy. More specifically, The Runaway King by Jennifer A. Nielsen. This is my second favorite middle grade trilogy of all frickin' time. It's a middle grade fantasy with an orphan boy who is in this competition to be the False Prince, the title of the first book. He has to compete, and there's a lot of political intrigue, and it is so fast-paced, and he is so sarcastic and witty. You would punch him in the face if you didn't want to hug him first. He's one of the best male characters of all freaking time. Such a great sense of duty. He makes these decisions so badass, not weak at all, and he was just fervently written because with the middle grade setting, there was no way to romanticize him really. So all we had to do was focus on his characteristics, and those just really shone through so much, and this was such a great trilogy. The sixth book is one that I've actually been mentioning a lot in past videos, and it was a very surprising one to make the list, but it is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. This truly affected me. It is a neoclassic. It is incredibly dense. This looks like a little book, right? It's not. It is moving, effective, heartbreaking. This boy named Charlie, who has an IQ of 70, undergoes his operation and his IQ skyrockets, and the problem is his emotional quotient does not catch up with him on this. You feel so much for him because he's trying to understand the world. He's 33 years old, but it's like he's a newborn baby. You can connect to him so much. I would highly recommend you read this, and you cannot have this spoiled for you. Number one thing, don't have this spoiled for you because you will cry so much. And I never cry with books, but I came so close. The fifth book is This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. It is about a girl named Elise Dombowski. You know how horrible I am with names? I remember that name. She is my ultimate book BFF. Everyone talks about their book boyfriends. Hardly anyone talks about their book best friends. And if I was going to have one fictional character as a best friend, it would be Elise, because she's so raw and awkward and just what every other teenage girl is. And she's going through this depression and not fitting in with her school. She discovers DJing in this underground nightclub. This book has stuck with me a lot this year, and I keep thinking about it. The fourth book is actually a very big surprise for myself, and that is Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. I know everyone else in this entire universe has read a Morgan Matson book and loved her. I am one of those people now. I don't really like fluffy contemporaries. I'm sorry. I like dense plot. I like lots of things happening. I like action. I like kickassery. Most of the time, fluffy contemporaries bore me to death because there's no other conflict. This changed my perspective. It's kind of a fluffy, deep, hybrid mix. This girl has to just pack up everything in a car, move across country, very similar to myself because it was the last book I read before I moved to New York. I could relate to her so much, and she had this really cute relationship with Roger, the male protagonist in the story. And it's basically them just road tripping across the country. Both of their lives are completely mixed up. They're both running from things and trying to find things. There is a conclusion and solution to their problems, but maybe not the one they were expecting. If you don't like fluffy contemporaries, or even contemporaries at all, gotta read this book and tell me that this was not gonna change your perspective. The third book is, no surprise, Falling Into Place by Amy Zhang. I don't have a finished copy, which I'm so sad about. I got this in June of 2014. It came out in September. I knew about it since January, and I am so freaking thankful I got an early copy of it. It is a book about a girl named Liz Emerson who uses the principles of physics and drives her fancy car off a cliff. Throughout the entire book, we're just wondering why did she do this? And we have this unreliable, mysterious narrator, and we don't know who she is until the very end of the book. And we hear from all these different perspectives, from like 10 minutes before the car accident to 8 years before the car accident. It's very scattered and all over the place, and you're kind of confused, but everything literally, clichély, falls into place at the end of the book. If you like Lauren Oliver or Gail Forman or Jay Asher, you have to read this book. Please, please, please do it. The second book pretty much made everybody's list this year, and that is Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. Because how can you not include Heir of Fire? This is about a kick-ass female assassin named Selena Sardothian, and it follows her adventures and all this political intrigue and romance. She's the king's private assassin, and this book had such an emotional impact. I was not the biggest fan of Selena herself as a character. The end of Heir of Fire changed that for me. She proved to me that characters could develop. I obviously knew there was a thing called character development, but I'd never really seen it that much in young adult novels before. But she did it. She progressed. I finally love her. I'm totally on her side, and oh my god, this just gives me all the feels, and I can't even describe. She literally changed my life. She gave me such a new perspective. She's such a refreshing young voice in the authorly community. She's such an awesome personality. The number one book I read in 2014 was such a surprise to myself, and it opened up a whole new world and a whole new genre and a whole new author. The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This proved to me that small books can be good. This is 177 pages of astoundingness. We don't know whether to classify it as an adult novel, a children's novel, or mythology. It features a young little boy. There's this ocean at this end of the lane, and there's magic, and there's this evil nanny. It was just so beautiful. I just want to cry the tears of this ocean because Neil Gaiman is such an artist. His words and how he crafts them. And we got a complete story that was so fulfilling and so exciting and so rapturing. Best book of the year. And that is the end of my top 14 of 2014 video. If you actually made it to the end, I congratulate you because I ramble on forever. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great time. Keep calm and read on. Goodbye. I love you. I love you.